I'm going live.
Put your hat on.
What is it? Oh. I don't want people to know that I'm bald. Completely bald.
We just
Not one
have
single
tufts
hair
attached to your hat.
I have a wig attached to my hat.
It's
that hangs down.
Oh my God.
Why are you doing that?
I don't know. It's not my fault.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, you don't really need to use this remote at all. I guess I should just take it away from you.
Oh, ho, ho, ho. Just take it away.
Take it away.
I can leave, you know.
Or you could just leave the remote alone.
I'm a grown adult.
So, yeah,
if I want to push random buttons on a remote control, you cannot control me.
Oh, that is true. It is true. Hey, everybody, we will be going officially live here in about 3 minutes. Little Rascals, Dave, a suggestion, Little Rascals themed game. Very interesting. We have done a few leagues that were mostly made up of kids.
Garrett had one.
Yeah. We had a graveyard scenario that we did, and that was made up almost entirely of kids. And Garrett was playing them. It was, yeah, that was fun. Yeah. I think it was part of the Tomb of the Serpent campaign. The scenario is probably still out there somewhere. It was the graveyard scenario.
We did several with them.
With that league.
Yeah, because I remember a couple in like a city setting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we dig them out and do them every once in a while. Scooby Gang. Mm-hmm. Venture Brothers, Johnny Quest, all that stuff. Good evening, kids. Is Scott on here? The hot question. A starting roster really only permanently includes the leader and any perks, correct? You are correct, Scott. You are correct. Everybody else is more or less temporary and can be replaced. Just you remember that, sir. They can be replaced.
Do you ever get to add or change perks?
You can add perks via experience or reputation, I guess I should say. You can also add perks via secret societies. So you do get additional things as your league grows. But you have to remember that the background perks are intended to represent the league's background. So that's supposed to be something that was developed over years, not something that happened in last week's game. So background perks are not supposed to be added willy-nilly during the course of the league.
So much you know about the past. Because you changed my backstory willy-nilly.
Did I ever tell you the story?
Sometimes it's a $5 corn dog. Sometimes it's a mugshot in the post office.
Oh.
You never know.
Sometimes it's pickles.
Oh.
The DJ.
No, that's my favorite.
Wah.
Oh.
I suppose we're going to get started up here. Wait, I didn't beat up 55 ninjas? No, absolutely you did, sir. You definitely beat up 55 ninjas, and that's the story that I'm sticking with. All about the willy-nilly. Well, now, mister, don't you be talking about my Willie like that. I was kind of visualizing perks as an evolution of the league. Something they're on the run. Sometimes they're operating from a base, but I gets it. Perks are boiled in. That's, yeah, it is what it is. You can add. I'm pretty sure there are background. Let's see. There's background perks. There's also reputation perks and secret society perks. So there are things that your league can kind of pick up as you go along, especially once you get deep into your secret societies and things like that. You can definitely pick up extra perks that way. So maybe explore that route a little bit. Sister Mary's Orphanage, Vampire Hunters. Very good, very good. Yes, indeed.
Hey, let's get started.
Let's get started.
8:01.
It is 8:01. What are we going to go over tonight? Hey, everybody, this is Dave here at Pulp Alley, and I am with the world's most dangerous Bessy on the main stage.
Oh. I don't know either.
So, did you guys see the gangs tutorial that I posted up? And the little bonus material at the end of it was pretty cool. Max practicing
Shuffling.
his Las Vegas shuffle.
It's a new style we created.
Yeah. Spreading out them cards. So, today we talked a little bit about gangs, and I felt like we ought to use some gangs.
Yeah.
I feel like we ought to use some gangs in maybe one of our Sunday games or something. I don't have them baked into any of our normal leagues, but that doesn't mean we can't, stray from the script a little bit and get some gangs in there somewhere.
For sure.
Just to show folks how they're used. And again, we don't use a lot of gangs, mainly because I really don't want to suggest that you got to have a bunch of miniatures to play Pulp Alley. I put out 20 or so miniatures on one side, and then everybody's like, oh, well, you got to have 20 miniatures to play. And that's not it at all. So there were a couple other bonus questions, though, that came out of the gangs video. So yes, a gang can dodge, and they only roll one dice for that normally. So they're not particularly good at dodging. They're a big clump of fellas. And chances are, if you fire in there, you're going to hit something. So the gangs are not particularly good at dodging. Yes, they can block. And that really becomes very tactical as well, because even as the attacker in like a shootout or something, if the enemy is going to land enough hits on you that they're going to, make that gang break, drop them down to 2 or fewer models, then, you almost have to try and throw some blocking in there to try and save your gang. So let's see, what's this say? Scott says, I heard a strength was that the only permanent fixture of the league was the leader and any perks. I think you can add as many gangs as you like to your league for any scenario you like. Well, gangs are a 2-slot character normally, or they are a 1-slot character. So they're supposed to fit in there just like you would anybody else. If you want to put them in there as a 2-slot league or a 2-slot gang or a 1-slot gang, the mob is, if you take the mob ability, then they are a 1-slot league. But yeah, well, gangs are great to bring zombies and skeletons and minions. Yeah. If you want to throw out big scoops of figures out there, you can definitely do it that way too. Definitely gets you a lot more models out there than just doing them as followers.
Yeah.
So, and a question was about the cover save. Yes, if you're in cover, it doesn't matter how many hits you took. You get to roll that one dice 6, to try and knock the number of hits down by 1. So if you took 3 hits, and you're about to lose 3 models and you're in cover, then you can roll that d6. If you get a 4 or better, then you lost 2 guys instead of 3. So it just takes 1 out of there. So a fun topic for today. I used gangs for Ascari Squad. Yes. Yeah. In a recent game. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I might use them for some stormtroopers or something like that. I don't know if we're talking about trying to get a Star Wars game going on a Sunday live. One of my friends here locally has a bunch of Star Wars figures, and some Star Warsy terrain, and he's a really good painter. So, talking with him about maybe doing some Star Wars with the Pulp Alley rules, of course. So that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
If we can make it happen, we'll see.
Speaking of,
Yes.
Harrison Ford.
Hey, I'm Indiana Jones.
Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is the world famous Dave's Indiana Jones.
Hey, I'm Indiana Jones.
Spot on imitation.
Spot on imitation. Spot on. Spot on, sir.
Flawless.
Oh, who's been watching this Book of Boba Fett? Who has been watching this Book of Boba Fett? And also, Kenneth, New Mexico would love to do a Star Wars game on a Sunday. I don't know. Is that like your alter ego? Because I don't know why Kenneth didn't let me know that himself, Mr. DW. It's interesting that only one of you ever shows up on these calls, on these chats. You notice that, Kenneth or DW?
That's wrong. That's wrong.
I think
that is wrong information.
I think they don't ever both show up at the same time.
literally
It's
just
quite
pulled
interesting.
that.
Quite interesting that they never show up at the same time.
You're just making things up now.
I think we've spotted the Superman.
But much better.
Danny as the Rancor trainer. Are you kidding me? How freaking awesome is that?
It was chef kiss.
Oh, you talk about mwah, el perfecto.
Oh, it's international.
That was pretty awesome. That was pretty awesome.
No spoilers.
I will get him to email you if that is his real name. Likely story. When I was up in New Hampshire at a convention, they did a Star Wars game using Pulp Alley, and they used Legos. It was really, really cool. I thought that was one of the coolest things I've seen. And I've seen that done a few times, using some of those fun little toys to do the Star Wars games.
Yeah.
So which is better, Mandalorian or Boba Fett so far? What do you think?
Well, before Weird Luke, I'd say they were pretty even Stevens.
Weird Luke.
You know what Weird Luke is.
I don't know what that means. Weird Luke.
Oh, yeah. Weird Luke. Just take the baby.
Takes the
it's
baby?
Fine. It's whatever. It's whatever. I'm a bigger fan of Boba Fett.
But Boba Fett doesn't have Baby Yoda.
Well, technically, that's not even his real name.
What?
It's not even his real name.
Okay, but it's what we call him.
That is what everybody calls him.
That's what everybody calls him, is Baby Yoda.
No.
Mando. Scott says Mando. So much backstory. Equal. Michael says equal.
Yeah, I say equal.
Bri G says Johnny Quest beats them both. Well, it was fighting words. Johnny Quest.
What about you?
I think Baby Yoda added an awful lot to The Mandalorian. It really gave it kind of a lone wolf and cub. If you guys love, Japanese samurai cinema, then you know what I'm talking about there. It's also an anime or a manga, Lone Wolf and Cub. It kind of gave it that really cool vibe. You had this little, and then and it was just kind of cool. I liked it. I don't know that I would say it was better because there was definitely some weak episodes.
They're very different. That one was very Monster of the Week. Mando was.
Yeah.
and that's not really how Boba Fett is.
No,
it's a little more
Boba
slower
has a little more of
paced,
a running story.
which
Yeah.
I kind of, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Kenneth again. He's talking about his Jar Jar is a Sith Lord. Jar Jar puts on Star Wars games with large action figures, like those 3 or 4 inch figures, or I don't know if that's what he means. Love the ATST in Mando. I don't remember an AT. Yeah.
Yeah, that was that one episode.
Yeah, that was cool. Okay. Yeah, lots of fun stuff. Lots of fun. An IG-11 fan. Okay. Very cool. At the shrimp farm. Yeah. Yeah, when it came busting in through the, yeah, that was cute. So I hope it's not too big of a transition, but one of the themes for tonight, we need to side slip now into Indiana Jones world a little bit here, because one of our topics for tonight is we named the dog Indiana. Does that? No.
If I squint,
If you squint,
if I squint, it's like Sean
Yeah.
Connery
It was
sitting
like
right
Sean
next to
Connery
me.
was in the room
I
right
mean,
there, like Sean Connery was right there in the
impeccable.
room.
It's made. Do it again. Okay.
I don't know that I can.
Yeah.
We named the dog Indiana. What kind of accent is that? I don't know. I don't know what that is.
You tell me, Sean Connery.
So we got a problem here, and I hope George is on here, Mr. Lucas.
I'm sure he is.
I hope George is on here to kind of clarify some of these topics that we have going. He drops in every once in a while. He'll be looking at this a little bit later. So in Last Crusade, we have this kind of throwaway comment. We named the dog Indiana. So I feel like there needs to be more to the story, and it's amusing and it's comical, and I guess that's why it needs more to the story. There should be a story there. All we have is the idea that this young boy, and I don't know how many of you watched the old Young Adventures of Young Indiana Jones or something like that. But I almost expected within the framework of that show that they would really explain how that name came to be, more than just something like, I liked that dog, right? Because that doesn't really cut it with me.
Especially because we don't
Young
see the
Indiana
dog.
Jones was good. What was it?
You don't really see the dog.
You don't really see the dog. You see it in Last Crusade for just a few seconds.
And it was honestly a very half-hearted, oh, it's him.
The dog looks up, and we don't know for a fact that was Indiana. We can assume that was the dog that he grew up with. So at that time, he's only 13 years old when he comes crashing into the house.
Sure.
He probably got the dog around 2 years old. So it's not unlikely that dog breed would still be alive in 1912 is when that scene happened. So it's not unlikely that the dog would be either 10 or 11, maybe somewhere in there, and that those dogs live that long.
Yeah.
My
bigger problem is their lack of storytelling in Young Indiana Jones. They had 2 years. From that line to the start of Young Indy. And they're like, nah, we're not going to put any effort in.
And we just think that deserves a little more story. It just deserves a little more story.
If they're going to pull your heartstrings with the, cute little puppy with the little baby.
Right. They dropped the puppy into the crib with him when he's probably about 2 years old or so. And that's about all you see. You see him a couple times more. But the truth is, according to the rules of nicknames, you don't get to pick your own nickname. So the idea
when you're Indiana Jones.
No, No, and even if you're Indiana Jones,
you're Indiana Jones.
You don't get to pick your own nickname. That goes completely against the law of nicknaming.
Not when you're Indiana Jones.
No. So the idea that he just all of a sudden, when he's 8 or 9 or 7 or who knows when, he decides all of a sudden, now I'm going to take the dog's name and start using the dog's name. It just doesn't make any sense. It needs a little more story to it to explain how the heck did this kid decide that he was going to name himself after the dog. It's just goofy. Hey there, Telemachus. Thank you for jumping on here. Really like the stuff that you sent me. So thank you so much. I think Sparky was taken. Oh, George Lucas is great at backstory. Okay. Yeah, so it's kind of weird, you know. There's this throwaway comment in The Last Crusade. We named the dog Indiana. And then and then once we get to young Indiana Jones. So what I need from you guys is I need a story. Like I need someone to explain to me what and how did Indiana Jones actually decide to start calling himself by the dog's name? It just doesn't make any sense. What?
Nothing.
What? Well, it's just left out there, and it's really unresolved. And I think they're talking about doing another. I think they're talking about doing another Indiana Jones movie too. So maybe in this one they'll tie that up a little bit.
I don't think you should get your.
Maybe the dog saved his life, and he felt he owed him. Okay, all right. See, that's not really so hard, is it? Not so hard. Maybe they treated the dog better than him, and he was desperate in an attempt to get parents' attention. Alan, I would possibly fall for that if I had not watched all of the young Indiana Jones episodes, and they fawn over that little kid. They treat him like a little emperor and are constantly paying attention to him. So I don't think the parents were mean to him thing really works all that well.
Well, maybe, but children often have a
that it was view. Like Calvin and Hobbes. One day there was no doggy, so he just played both parts. It's a very little kid thing to do. So the dog wasn't around, but we know the dog was around.
But he wasn't when he didn't go on the trip.
That's right. And what was it? In 1907, he goes on the world trip with his father around the world, or a big world spanning trip anyway, for his father's book. Mm-hmm. So they do leave the dog at home there. You get a scene of it sitting, behind. So they did leave the dog behind. And there's kind of a throwaway comment there. The only thing I missed was the dog, Yes, young Indy puts the kibosh on that. I like the Calvin and Hobbes theory. So since he gets on the ship and they're going across to England, he just starts having an imaginary dog there with him that he has to be both parts. He was sick of being compared to his father, so in college he took Indy to separate him from his father. Now that's not bad, Scott. It's not a bad idea. Unfortunately, it appears as if he starts using the name Indy or Indiana much, much younger. Even before his mother died, he's already started using the name Indy or Indiana or some version thereof. Possibly as young as 10, he was using the name Indiana.
Just to pause it.
Mm-hmm.
Very quickly, they were just so inseparable as younglings that they just called both of them Indiana to simplify with the world. So they're like, oh, Indy, and then they just would both come.
Yeah, yeah.
So then
Whenever
like,
they called Indy, the boy would come
the boy
too.
and the dog would come. So
Yeah.
it just became.
Except that his parents do not call him Indy. His parents call him Henry.
Well, there are other people in his life besides his house.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
Now, I just want you to know that you're never going to be satisfied.
I am going to be
you
satisfied.
You will never be satisfied.
George is going to be on here pretty quick. I'm pretty sure George, Mr. Lucas, if you prefer, will be on here to clarify at some point.
I don't know, but Harrison Ford was filming the new film in England, and even at 800 years old, he was still doing his own stunts, and he tore up his shoulder and he needed surgery, according to Michael Greenhill.
Yeah, he is 800, isn't he? Just turned a spry 800. Did he need an alter ego in a tight spot? And that was the first name that he came up with. See, that would have been cool too. That would have been cool, Alan. That would have been cool. Like if he took Indiana as a fake name later on. But again,
or even in that moment,
that's not when he started using it. He started using it at about 10 years old. That doesn't mean that he didn't get into a tight spot at 10 years old, but still, I think there ought to be a story about it. You know, I think there's more to that story. And did you guys know out there that there is actually a very famous actor whose nickname was based on his childhood dog? A famous actor whose nickname is based on his childhood dog. And there's actually a story that explains why his nickname was based on his childhood dog. Very famous actor. I'll give you guys a few minutes to let me know who it is, and before I do the big reveal. Anywho, more stories. Have you heard how? Now, you know, the truth is that Indiana was a big inspiration for Chewbacca, and that, you know, of course, he was named after the dog because that was the name of George Lucas's dog. So in some ways, it's almost, you know, a tip of the hat to George Lucas's dog in a way, you know, to just go, we named the dog Indiana. It just keeps getting better. Like every time I do it, it's better. I
feel like I'm next to a legend. It's a little overwhelming.
Sean Connery.
Who's that?
Have you heard how Han got his name? Han got his name. I do think I've heard that, but tell me what it was. I'm not sure you want to know too much backstory. Maybe one of his scout friends gave him the nickname. Remember, the longer you're with a pet, they say you start to look like you. Maybe you look like the dog and vice versa. Real rich little John Wayne. Yes, indeed. John Wayne, Marty Devine. John Wayne's nickname was the Duke, and that nickname goes all the way back to his childhood, and it was based on his dog. It was given to him not by himself. He did not choose the nickname Duke, but he sure as heck liked it. He sure as heck liked it and was very happy that it came along because his real name was Marion. And when, you know, Marion has never been a cool name for a boy. I had a brother whose middle name was Marion, and he hated that. Oh dear. He thought that was the devil.
I could see that.
Yeah. But anyway, John Wayne had a Airedale Terrier that he took everywhere with him around, I think it was Palmdale, California. And it was a fireman that they would walk past a fire station, and the fireman knew the dog's name was Duke. So the dog was called Duke, and John Wayne Marion at the time, of course. The fireman started calling the boy Little Duke. So, and eventually it just evolved into Duke. So, I mean, there's a story there, right? There's a story about how John Wayne actually got the name Duke, and it's not because he liked his dog, right? It's more than that, because you don't get to pick your own nickname. So, I'm thinking there needs to be a story about how Indiana Jones got that name.
Maybe you should write to George Lucas. And
we're talking to him right now. I'm pretty sure he's on here.
I don't see his name on here.
Well, sometimes he comes incognito.
I don't see anything.
One of these names could easily be an alias. This D.W. Lowe guy looks suspicious. It's interesting. Yeah. This Ptolemycus fella, that I don't know that was the name his mother gave him. Ptolemycus, if that is your real name, sir. I think most of these are actually aliases.
You're an
alias. That Michael Greenhill. You know that's not a real name. Somebody made that up. I will have George email you. Okay. Have George email me. All he needs to do to make me happy is to it's my name in Spanish is Ptolemycus. You know what? I thought that was probably the case. So yeah, that makes sense now. That makes sense now.
What would make you happy?
I just need George to send me an email and let me know what the story is behind the Indiana Jones name, and not simply, oh, I named him after my dog. Right? There needs to be more to it.
Well, you have to go back to 1992 and discuss it with the Young Indiana Jones writers for being slapdash.
Yeah, that's terrible. It's terrible that they did not take advantage of that opportunity. Like the writers that were working on the Young Indiana Jones story, and maybe it was off limits. Maybe George just said, no, don't go trying to peel that onion. But he says that a lot. If you're around George Lucas very often, you hear him use that phrase a lot. No. Don't you go peeling that onion. See, that is a perfect impression of George Lucas also. Perfect.
I think you're wrong.
He has slightly more Spanish accent. No. Don't you peel that onion. Something more, a little more like that. What?
That took more of a Frenchy turn towards the end there.
I was trying to do Irish. I can't help it. All right, boys and girls, thank you so much for watching tonight. Leave your comments down below, and I need a story. So leave me a story in the comments and let me know what was it. And you got to remember that young Indiana, or young Henry Jones Jr., he starts using that name very early in his life. At least by around 10 or 11, he's trying to use that name. I don't know. There's got to be a story there that kind of prompts that. But that's it for tonight.
I think so.
All right. Wake up the orchestra. Roll the credits. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight and playing along. You're the best. We'll see you soon. Bye, everybody. That was fun.
You're so silly.
That was a lot of fun.